National News with John Hawkesby.
Tonight the ink's dry and so far at least the Bosnian peace deal is holding. Digging out after the deluge, but the south's not a pretty sight. And why mouse droppings that came as a sudden shock weren't sudden enough for the insurance company. Good evening. Written in ink, paid for in blood. The Bosnian peace deal was signed in Paris today in a mixture of relief and reluctance. It was described by one of the warring sides as a bitter pill to swallow. Despite the firing of a mortar round in Sarajevo and a small arms attack on a UN helicopter, the pen is so far proving to be mightier than the sword.
It was American diplomats who finally brokered the peace deal, and it was to President Clinton that the chief credit went today. He'd come to Paris to see a deal made in Dayton, Ohio, formally signed in President Chirac's Élysée Palace. The British and the French will not be denied their share of the credit for the years of peacekeeping and their diplomatic efforts before the Americans became involved. But whoever did it, all the leaders of the major powers here today are just thankful a war that's racked the conscience of Europe for so long could finally be over. There was momentary confusion about where exactly to sign their names, but then the leaders of Serbia, Croatia and Bosnia agreed to share the country they'd fought over for so long. They committed themselves to allowing refugees from ethnic cleansing to return home and to preventing anyone accused of war crimes from holding a position of power. The handshakes were friendly, but none even pretends they got what they want from this war.
My government takes part in this agreement without any enthusiasm, but as someone taking a bitter yet useful medicine.
But then the most important part of this deal is that, for all its imperfections, it's better than war.
You have seen what war has wrought. You know what peace can bring. Seize this chance and make it work. Do not let your children down.
Now for the West, a new phase begins, the deployment of tens of thousands of NATO troops to enforce the deal. This treaty makes the outside world even more involved in Bosnia's future.
It's now up to all of us to turn peace into a lasting settlement and the countries of former Yugoslavia into a stable and prosperous part of the European family.
It's equally a chance for NATO to restore its reputation, but in doing so it's staking everything on a belief these three leaders really mean no more war.
Spirits rose as the water level fell, allowing South Islanders to begin mopping up. But a state of emergency in the North Otago town of Hakataramia is likely to remain in force all weekend. More rains forecast, with the Waitaki River threatening to drown the settlement a second time. In Alexandra, at least, residents could return to their homes, though for some it was a heartbreaking sight.
Ruined homes and possessions. The floodwaters have receded, leaving behind mud and silt and a huge clean-up job. For residents, it's been a nightmare.
We've only been here a short time, and it's just devastating.
I've never been so upset in my life. In fact, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I was having a bit of a cry.
In this house, the water reached halfway up the wall. A holiday batch was swept off its foundations. Another dwelling was saved from a similar fate by ropes tied to a power pole. The town's swimming pool is a sea of mud and silt. In North Otago, it was Hakataramia's turn to declare a state of emergency. Water from the overflowing Waitaki River flooded through 6 homes.
It is hard to leave. It's the second time on the row, so it is bad. Because we had the Haka the last time, now we've got the Waitaki this time.
We were told it was once in 100 years, but it's been twice in nearly 100 years.
2 historic bridges were under threat as wooden pylons gave way to the force of a river flowing 6 times its normal rate. The bridge shuddering under the pressure as we filmed. Around 10 caravans were almost swept away when the Waitaki River surged through here last night. Camp staff had to tie them to trees to anchor them down. The camping ground aquarium is now likely to house a few prized Waitaki salmon.
You needed a holiday job, didn't you?
Locals were up to their waists as sandbags were piled high to form a makeshift stop bank. Everyone joined in.
Just it affects everybody, so everybody likes to feel they're doing their bit, you know.
This bank will be put to the test if the forecast rain arrives on Sunday, pushing already full lakes beyond their limit.
The problem is at the moment that there's no storage left in the dams up in the Waitaki Valley, and whatever falls in the Alps will eventually end up down here with us.
We've put replacing pegs out along the bank,
to act as a trigger level. Once the water level exceeds that point, then that would be the indication to civil defence authorities to begin their evacuation.
Everyone turned out for the emergency. If they weren't stacking sandbags, they were filling them. By early afternoon, 5 hours of hard labour had been rewarded.
Good news, folks. Words come, enough bags full. Enough bags full for down there. We'll just take this load back that you got, and that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Evacuated residents are returning to their homes tonight, but the state of emergency is likely to stay in place all weekend. Justine Short, 3 National News.
Wellington's double murderer John Barlow won't be eligible for parole for 14 years. Sentencing him for the murders of Jean and Eugene Thomas, the judge said Barlow was a dangerous man who needed to be kept in custody for a long time. But the Barlow family remains adamant justice has not been done.
More disappointment at the High Court today for John Barlow's wife Angela and brother Hugh. A life sentence is mandatory for murder, but judges can impose a minimum parole period. For the Thomas killings, Barlow won't be eligible for release until 2009.
Pretty much what we'd expected. Obviously an excessively long sentence for an innocent person. But we would hope that the appeal will take care of that and make it all academic.
The Crown prosecutor urged the judge to consider Barlow's crimes to be as serious as those committed by convicted mass murderer David Bain and serial rapist Joseph Thompson when setting the non-parole period. Bain's non-parole period is 16 years, Thompson's is 25. Justice Naser rejected those comparisons, but told Barlow he must be in prison for a long time. He said the way the Thomases were killed indicated you are a dangerous man, beyond your formative years. For Barlow's lawyer John Billington, an appeal's the natural sequel to the sentence.
Yeah, the appeal will be filed next week.
If successful, the next time Barlow leaves the courtroom, it won't be in a prison van. Paul Allen, 3 National News.
The leader of a South Island sect has been jailed for 5 years on 3 charges of indecently assaulting a female follower. 68-year-old hopeful Christian, formerly known as Neville Cooper, was told by the sentencing judge that he'd treated the woman cruelly, and it was hard to imagine a more serious case of assault. Court appearances in Auckland today for 14 people arrested in the storming of a state house last night. They had barricaded themselves inside the property, supporting a woman who'd been evicted. Housing New Zealand says it had no option but to call in the police.
The protesters emerged from court defiant, already planning another rally outside the house tonight, decrying last night's intervention by police.
It was a disgraceful consequence of Housing New Zealand refusing to be reasonable in a situation that had serious consequences for a family that needed a home.
The protest by the State Housing Action Coalition has been running all week in support of an evicted tenant, turfed out by Housing New Zealand for breaching the tenancy agreement. It escalated last night when about 20 demonstrators occupied the house, barricading themselves inside.
Stop evictions of the...
Police moved in force a short time later. Battering their way in through the front door, they moved quickly to break up the protest and clear the house.
Something to tell your grandchildren! Make your own way over the fence now!
And I apologise, there's really very little else Housing New Zealand could have done other than to get this matter resolved.
Despite last night's violence and today's sequel in court, the protesters say they will fight on, but under their bail conditions, they are now banned from entering the property. Karen Pickersgill, 3 National News.
An American court has ordered a 15-year-old girl to be shackled to her mother for a month. The Carolina judge said Tanya Kiln was a delinquent who couldn't keep herself out of trouble. So he ordered she be joined by a leash to her mother for 24 hours of every day, 7 days a week, until her sentence has been served out. But if that seems rough, consider the case of John Fawcett's insurance claim. Fawcett went overseas to work for an international charity and returned to find his home had been invaded by a horde of mice. They'd done $4,000 worth of damage to his property, but worse was to come. State wants to rat on his insurance.
John Fawcett's basement has been home to hundreds of mice in the last 2 years, but what's even worse is that they've been living, eating, dying and worse in his family's personal belongings, stored there while Fawcett worked for World Vision in Cambodia. He's come home ahead of his wife and 2 children and has been cleaning up ever since he arrived.
It's dirty, it stinks, it smells, it's the urine stains over everything. Puts you right off your food, I can tell you that.
But it's not just the mice that have left a bitter taste. Fawcett's insurers, State Insurance, have refused to pay for the damaged goods after he filed a claim yesterday.
It was just a straight, this matter has been declined, decided, and that's the end of it. So I was very surprised.
The crux of the dispute stems from the wording of his policy, which states he's covered for accidental and sudden loss of or damage to your contents while they're at your home or temporarily elsewhere in New Zealand. State Insurance admits the damage was accidental, but they're questioning whether it was sudden. Fawcett says whatever your interpretation, the timing couldn't have been worse.
Well, it's made Christmas a bit of a stink, really. My wife and children arrive on the 24th of December. My job was to set the house up and the Christmas tree and the presents, and it's just taken a lot of the tarnish off Christmas for us.
The branch manager who declined John Fawcett's application refused to appear on camera, but 3 National News understands the company's head office in Wellington is reviewing the file to determine whether too hasty a decision was made. Nicole Bremner, 3 National News.
In the news ahead, tensions are still high as police blame thugs and criminals for yesterday's riots in Brixton. The Governor-General receives $1 million to help clean up ageing exhibits of war.
Tonight, we go to Korea for a closer look at the hull of the prime suspect in the sinking of the yacht Melinda Lee as the Pan Grace comes under the investigator spotlight.
She likes the feel of it and the look of it, but that's about as far as it goes.
And a hair-raising experience from the heart of Taranaki.
He's a small-town cop.
Coogan, Paiute County Sheriff's Office.
Taking on the Big Apple.
You're out of your league.
He is Clint Eastwood.
Wrong number.
There was no need for violence.
The way everybody acts everywhere.
Taking the town by force.
You are not a policeman in the city of New York. I still carry a badge.
But now he's on the wrong side of the law.
Are you charging me or what? Don't call us, we'll call you.
Be watching the legendary Clint Eastwood in Coogan's Bluff tonight at 9 on TV3.
Yeah, you do that.
There's something magical happening down there. At Deka, Cadbury's chocolates are a gift at only $5.75 each. And Analea gift sets are priced from just $26.95 each. Save $10 on a Game Boy Basic set, only $89.95. Plus, for every $50 you spend on toys at Deka or the Toy Warehouse, you get a $5 gift voucher.
Where saving feels good.
Oh, yes. It feels like a Deka Christmas to me.
2, 3, sugar and spice, curry and rice, Barney and Fred, breakfast in bed, knife and a fork, boo-ha and pork, super lucky dip and
Line to strike. Phil. That line, it's not your best work.
Barks like a dog, Phil.
Now it's a lot easier to give a great Christmas gift from Lotto. Just ask for a double dip and you'll get a brilliant free gift wallet. Double dip, the perfect gift for Christmas.
Lotto double dip, double dip, double dip.
Double dip. I like it. Yeah.
Attention, itchy, watery, puffy eyes. Attention, runny noses. Attention, sneezing noses. It's Teldane time again. For millions of allergy sufferers, Teldane takes away your itchy, watery eyes, takes away your runny nose, takes away your sneezing, and it does it all fast, yet lets you stay alert. So attention, allergy sufferers, it's Teldane time again.
There's got to be a better way. So quick and easy. Better way. Only takes a minute. To start the day. A better way.
Have a great start to your day with the new McDonald's Kiwi Big Breakfast. Delicious scrambled eggs, a golden hash brown, a toasted hot muffin, 2 sizzling sausages. The Kiwi Big Breakfast, only $3.95.
It's gonna be a lovely day. It's gonna be a lovely day. It's gonna be a lovely. The difference is selection here at Queensgate Shopping Centre.
So much more variety.
So much more to choose.
We care about our service here.
A casual, friendly atmosphere.
An exciting way to shop.
Exciting way to shop. We've got the lot. The difference is selection here at Queensgate Shopping Centre. Make your day.
Michael Jackson. And this is history.
Where the magic's in the music.
The Airways Corporation and air traffic controllers have agreed to resume talks on Monday to try to resolve the dispute that's grounded most domestic flights this week. Both parties say they're ready to talk again over the controllers' claim for a 9% pay rise. Let our relatives in. That's the message from a group of Somalis who staged a sit-in outside Parliament today. Local refugees trying to get their families out of Kenya say our government's being obstructive. 70 local Somalis say residency applications were rejected because they couldn't produce relatives' birth certificates and police records from Somalia. They say such documents don't exist and New Zealand authorities should be aware of that. Police in London are blaming yesterday's riots in Brixton on thugs and criminals looking for an excuse to loot and burn. Tonight the authorities are out in force, hoping to head off any further trouble.
There can be no disguising the tension in Brixton tonight. The police are out in force 24 hours after what was meant to be a peaceful demonstration turned into a riot. The protest had followed the death in custody of Wayne Douglas, a burglary suspect who police say died from heart failure. Demonstrators wanted to march. They were stopped by the police. Then the riot started. The police were attacked. They called in reinforcements. It took them more than 2 hours to gain control. At one stage, a gun was fired. In response, for the first time in a British riot, teams of armed officers were deployed. As flames and smoke rose above Brixton Centre, a police helicopter tried to track small bands of breakaway groups running amok elsewhere. The rioters were using mobile phones to communicate with each other. By now, the rioters were setting buildings on fire. This had been a DIY store. As the looting began, the police sent in snatch squads. But only 7 arrests were made. Amongst the injured was a policeman pulled off his motorbike by the rioters.
Somebody took my baton off me and was hitting me with it.
So you have a broken shoulder?
Yeah, broken the shoulder and some ribs. And a lot of bruising, an awful lot of bruising.
As some semblance of normality returned to Brixton, the police were accused by demonstrators of heavy-handedness. The police said they had no option but to act in the way they did.
$1 million boost for the Auckland Museum. It's now planning a big facelift for many ageing exhibitions, including an ambitious project on the history of New Zealanders at war.
A million reasons to smile. Dame Catherine Tizard accepts the ASB Trust donation on behalf of the museum.
Thank you very much, Judith. Thank you, gentlemen. The museum will put it to very good use.
That use will be an ambitious project looking at the history of New Zealanders at war, combining realistic mock-up war settings and state-of-the-art video and CD technology. The museum's director says it's all aimed at giving people a feel for what it was like to be at war.
In the first part of the exhibition, which opens next February, which will deal with the New Zealand wars and up to and including the First World War, people will encounter a little bit of Gallipoli, they'll encounter a First World War trench and German pillbox.
The museum has its sights set on raising another $5.5 million for a complete refurbishment, a move which the ASB Trust says is right on target.
Exhibitions these days have to be interactive. The public expect it. The museum is a dear old lady, but it is in urgent need of a facelift, and this is the first stage of the facelift.
The museum says there's still a lot of work to be done, but it's confident stage 1 of the exhibition will be open to the public in early February as planned. Gideon Porter, 3 National News.
Elsewhere in money matters, New Zealand's overseas debt rose over $1 billion in the 6 months to September and now stands at $68.6 billion, according to the government statistician. Almost 60% of our school children are studying the Maori language, according to the Ministry of Education. And Sotheby's will auction the estate of Jackie Kennedy Onassis in April in a memorable sale expected to bring in about $7 million. Cook Strait's newest fast ferry has arrived in the capital after a delivery voyage from Perth. The Strait Runner is now being checked by the Maritime Safety Authority before it starts regular sailings from Tuesday. It will carry passengers only on a new route between Parramatta and Picton, travelling through Queen Charlotte Sound. The share market ended the week with a whimper, turnover just reaching $34 million. The NZSE 40 index dipped 11 points to 2,111. Sentiment rather than sense peeled another 6 cents off Fletcher Challenge. Telecom, sensitive to local interest rates, lost 2. Flying against the trend, Air New Zealand with a 10-cent gain, while Ferns was up despite earlier forecasting a lower than expected profit in 1996. On world markets, the bears were firmly back in charge, while at home the dollar was up against everything except the pound.
Coming up next in 3 national sport, Twos fights hard, but the Kiwis lose a nail-biter. A close one across the Tasman as well, but nothing close about it when Nyla Carroll shows the Aussies a clean pair of heels. Also tonight, Blythe Tate shows his class at the 3-day event, and Greg Norman's dream a potential nautical nightmare. Coming up next on 3 National News.
Fancy getting a superstar to do this.
Saturday, 6:30, sit back and watch Brucey's choice of the unforgettable.
I was rotten in jail.
Is it about rotten in jail? You're rotten in this sketch.
The unmissable Bruce Forsyth's Generation Game. Saturday, 6:30 on 3.
You can be sure for Christmas at Whitcoulls.
Save $10 on the superb Bateman New Zealand Encyclopedia, only $49.95. For a great gift book, how about Zinni, only $39.95. These designer pots and frames, perfect for Christmas and great value. There's Crayola Magic, Colour Runner Jeep, crayon, pencils and markers from $175, plus Paul Jennings Super Diary and Uncovered. And don't forget exchange cards and gift vouchers.
Something for everyone at Whitcoulls.
Not as exciting as it used to be, is it?
Okay, you guys. Share the attitude with Party Bingo.
Bingo!
Imagine winning $10,000 just like that.
Yeah, he's so lucky.
It's just the ticket for Christmas.
These 10-litre pails of Taubmans paint don't do anything out of the ordinary until you buy one. And then you get $10 cash back. It's the Taubmans Lucky Drop. Drop in and buy some.
With the Aiwa mini system, please turn it down a bit.
Thank you.
The boys and girls. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea.
At Telecom, we've reduced our rates to the world this weekend. Direct dial anyone, anywhere in Australia, anytime this weekend and pay just 49 cents a minute. Or anyone, anywhere else in the world for just 99 cents a minute. Spread some joy this Christmas and save with Telecom.
Oh, well, I'm the kind of light that likes to bend around. You can point me left or right, or hang me upside down. But I'm not the kind of light you have to hang on to. Just use me when you need 3 hands, but you've got only 2. 'Cause I'm the snake light. They call me the snake light.
It's the hands-free flexible flashlight, new from Black & Decker. Someone's thinking.
Yeah, well, the snake lights from Black & Decker. We get around, 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 around.
10 years, 17 hits. Design of a Decade is the best of Janet Jackson.
A father and daughter reunited through tragedy.
I couldn't be responsible for a 10-year-old girl.
She's your daughter.
A heartwarming story of love.
May I express my feelings?
And understanding.
I'm in trouble.
Dad, the Angel and Me, Saturday on 3.